Welcome to the Dave Champion Show. Gather the children, invite the neighbors over, bring in the dog, turn up the phone, and gather around the radio. It's time once again to demolish Democrats, shame Republicans, horrify liberals, and educate conservatives. Turn up the volume, America. Open the windows and let freedom ring throughout the land. And now, your personal champion of liberty, the paladin of patriotism, the warrior of wisdom, the Neo of the American Matrix, and your host, Dave Champion.
Well, thank you. Thank you, my friends. An honor, privilege, and a joy to be back with you again. Well, very exciting things going on. First of all, before I get into all these exciting things, I want to thank Sebastian, who made a contribution to the Dave Champion Legal Defense Fund. Thank you. By the way, still necessary, still happening. We have more battles to be fought on this injunction thing. It's just, summer's an odd time, and I don't know what it is. And I don't think I can ascribe it just to people going on vacation. We typically know in business, August is a terrible month. Everybody's doing a bunch of things. But I don't think I can ascribe it to that. But I have noticed over the years, not much gets done in summer. I don't know what it is, like a mental thing. So I don't want to say not much gets done. Let me rephrase that. It seems it's harder to get more things done. I'm going to tell you what I think it is. What I think it is people are outside more. Okay? So people have their normal workload, let's say during fall, winter, and beginning part of spring. But it's still, most of the country, it's still a little chilly. So people tend to stay in. Then the weather gets nice. Now people have all those responsibilities that they ordinarily have. But now the kids want to go to the neighborhood pool and go swimming, and the wife wants to go here, and the buddies want to go there. And so there's all these other things that they have to pack into the available time. So anything that's not essential to their lives sort of gets put off to the side. This is just a phenomenon. I may be wrong, but this is how I see it. And consequently, we are not done with this injunction. We will be back in front of the judge. We will be back in court. We will be filing to have the whole thing undone on some very sound legal ground. It just hasn't been possible in the last couple months. So the point is, we're not done, and can always use your help. So if you send something in, God bless you. Appreciate it. All right. What do we want to talk about? There's so many things to talk about since I've been with you last, and of course I've been getting emails from people telling me, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. Dave, where are you? How come you haven't commented on this? So, all right, I've got a list of things we're going to talk about. First and foremost, I have been asked to move the Dave Champion Show from radio, it was radio for 8 years, now for the last 6 months it's been internet. Is that the same thing? I don't know. I have been asked to move it to television. Now, we're not talking about, being on Fox, but a local station in Pahrump that also has a certain, I don't know the exact percentage of penetration into the Las Vegas market. That would obviously be starting small. But I figure, since I have absolutely no television experience, isn't that the right place to start? Start small. And the goal, of course, of the guys that are talking to me about it is we think that your show would be amazing, Dave, and then we can pitch it to larger and larger networks. All right, hey, that works for me. So that's something I'm pondering. I've actually committed to give the men who spoke to me about this an answer no later than tomorrow, as I'm recording this now. So tick-tock, I have to come up with an answer probably within about the next 16 to 18 hours. So that's very, very interesting. What will happen? I don't know. We will see. But let's talk about current events, things that are going on. Well, Friday morning, we had the largest mass shooting in U.S. history. Now, I'm not sure that description is apt, and I'll tell you why. 20 years ago when there was a shooting and you said, 6 people killed and 19 injured. The 19 injured had to be injured by the shooter. Not so anymore. Now, if a bunch of people are running for the door and one of them trips and falls and somebody else in their rush to get out steps on the wrist of the person who's laying there and breaks the bone in the wrist, that's considered now an injury based on the shooter. So when they say 12 dead, 13 dead, I've heard it both ways, and 58 or 59, again, heard it both ways, people injured, that doesn't mean shot. This could mean people who, oh, well, he knocked me over and I fell down and my back hurts. It was like when I got rear-ended in the car that time. Yeah, my back hurts. That's an injury now, as per how law enforcement and the emergency services personnel classify injuries. So when it says 12 or 13 dead and 58 or 59 injured, we don't have any idea how many of those people were actually shot. I mean, obviously, I think it's pretty clear that the 12 or 13 were, but of the 58 or 59, the actual people who were contacted by hot flying lead could be like 31. Everybody else is just, oh, he stuck his elbow in my eye. I have a black eye. My eye bothers me now. I have to go to the doctor. That's considered an injury these days. Okay? I'm not belittling the injuries. I'm just saying in the world of Dave Champion, they shouldn't be attributed to the shooter. It shouldn't be classified like that. And if you want to include things like that, well, distinguish them. There, we have 12 or 13 dead. We have 28 people that were hit by hot flying lead, and we have another, 18 people that were injured by other people trying to get out of the theater. Okay, fair enough. Wouldn't we consider that clarity? I know I would. But, of course, who gives out those statistics to the media? Oh, that's right, government. Are we expecting them to be honest or clear? No. Now, of course, whenever we have a shooting like this, stand by, drinking. All right, whenever we have a shooting like this, of course, the anti-gun nuts come out of the wood, and it's to be expected. It's almost to the point now where I don't care anymore. Somebody gets shot, a whole bunch of people get shot. All right, here we go. Blah, 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 blah. And off we go. That's not the part that really bothers me. I expect that. I mean, Sarah Brady, she's a human walking piece of shit. We know she's going to do that. The part that bothers me is when I hear this line. Oh, I support the right to keep and bear arms. I just don't think it should include assault weapons. All right, first of all, these people don't know what the true definition of assault weapons are. But aside from that, and by the way, that's Mitt Romney's quote, by the way, if you go back historically. He's changed that now that he wants to be president, but who fucking believes that, right? Who believes he actually changed his point of view? 7 years ago, oh, I don't believe anybody should have an assault rifle. That's not part of the right to keep and bear arms. No, sirree boy. And all of a sudden now he wants to be president. Oh, yeah, the existing laws are really cool, man. We shouldn't change any of that shit. Who believes this asshole? Now, I know people get mad when I say that. Oh, well, if you don't vote for Mitt Romney, hey, you're fucking voting for Obama, asshole. Yeah, okay, I hear you. We have a broken political system where we have douchebag number one or douchebag number two to vote for. And, people get really enraged when you say, you know what, I'm not really interested in voting for a douchebag. Doesn't matter whether it's one or two. I'm not interested in voting for a douchebag. And the other thing that kills me, and I love this, the people who loved George Bush, W. Bush, Sonny Boy, the people who loved him love to point out that Obama has carried forward, Obama who, in theory, at least it's typically believed couldn't be any more different than George Bush, has carried forward and amplified in many cases George Bush's political programs, most especially internationally. Okay? They go, oh, yeah, see? George Bush was right, because Obama's doing it too. Yeah, look what he's done with all the drones and taking out them terrorists, including American citizens, all over the world. Okay, so, this is what they say. This is proof that George W. Bush was right, because even Obama's doing it today. Yeah, that's proof, yeah. What that's proof of, idiot, is that it doesn't matter who's in the White House. That there are other interests, other factors, other motivations driving these guys than the shit they say when they're on the campaign trail. And I'm going to bet you dollars to donuts there's stuff that they learn when they get to the White House that turns their blood cold that they never knew when they were on the campaign trail. So now Mitt Romney, okay? If you go back and look at his history, he's not all that different from Barack Obama and his campaign shit. Okay? They're not very different. Now, their backgrounds are different, granted. Obama has zip business experience. Mitt Romney has a whole bunch. Okay? And I can't imagine anybody who's on sort of the right side of the political spectrum not wanting somebody who's got a business background. Okay? But politically, what they have stood for and what they have done is not that much different. So when let's say Mitt Romney wins and he gets to the White House, since their political views aren't that far apart, and Mitt Romney is going to have this come to Jesus meeting when he gets there too, where the power brokers come in and say, hey, Mitt, all that shit you said on the campaign trail, yeah, that was really cute, man. We had a big laugh about all your bullshit because you don't know what's really going on. But now that you're sitting in that chair, listen up, motherfucker, because we got something for you. And you're going to do what we say or the shit's going to come down. Just like they did to Obama. Just like they did to Bush. And nothing's going to change. That's the reason I'm so amazed and flummoxed when I see all these people. We've got to fight tooth and nail with everything we've got to get that Barack Obama guy out of the White House and get our savior, Mitt Romney, into the White House. Really? Are you out of your fucking minds? Now, if it makes you feel better to run around during the campaign season masturbating over this idea that Mitt Romney is going to be significantly different than Barack Obama, carry on. Carry on. But watch what happens. This is the acid test I always do on this show. All right, you want to say X is true? Fine, say it. But when that date on the calendar comes or that event occurs that's going to tell us whether you were right, you better pony up and tell the fucking truth in the end. You weren't right. All those people that said as soon as don't ask, don't tell is gone, the military, our U.S. military is going to fall apart and will no longer be an effective fighting force. Really? Guess what? Nothing has changed. Yeah, they had those two gals that kissed when the battleship or destroyer, whatever the hell it was, docked. And everybody was, oh my God, two female naval officers kissed. You'd pay for that shit on porn, wouldn't you? And then the other thing was, there's going to be some soldiers, I don't know who it is, Marine Corps, Army, Air Force, who knows, who cares, going to be marching in a gay parade. All right. Now, the headline I saw initially said in uniform, and then the next time I saw the headline, those words were gone. Now, to march in uniform without the consent of your military branch, your commanding officers within that branch, I believe is a violation of the UCMJ. And unless there's some sort of military function as a part of that parade, like recruiting, they're not allowed to wear the uniform. So I think that headline was erroneous. But even if they marched in uniform, who gives a shit? Okay? Gay lesbian pride parade, they're walking down the street and they've got their Air Force Blues on. Who really, well, I know there are people out there who give a shit. But in the end, what difference does it make? And that's nothing. It's zero. People have their balls in an upper over nothing because it doesn't matter. So, all the way back now to the anti-gun thing. Okay? Oh, I believe in the right to keep and bear arms, but not that assault weapon stuff. This is how we got into the Mitt Romney thing, because he doesn't believe in assault weapons either. But people think, oh, he's our savior. Yeah, but he wants to take your AR-15, asshole. Amazing how stupid Americans are. But that's the part that cheeses me off about these shootings. Not Sarah Brady. I mean, we all know who she is. So when she comes out and starts flapping her 90-year-old gums, who gives a shit? It's these other people that take this position. Well, I support the right to keep and bear arms. I really do. But see those assault rifles. That's different. Having a gun, like a revolver, at home in a locked box, and your neighbor has the key so that your kids can't get into it. I support the right to keep and bear arms, but the assault rifle thing, I mean, come on. Who needs an assault rifle in this day and age? These are the assholes that I want to bitch slap across the fucking room. They're not for all that stuff where they say they support the right to keep and bear arms. Let's be clear. They're fucking liars. They might nominally support the concept that, yeah, you're okay to defend yourself. Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go that far. Yeah, you can defend yourself. Well, great. I'm glad you said that. What do I get to defend myself? A stick? No. I don't want to be unreasonable. So you can have some sort of a handgun. We'd prefer that it be very small caliber and not a lot of bullets, because you don't need a lot of bullets. And I think that's where this thing needs to stop, okay? Because reasonable restrictions. Right. I got a reasonable restriction. I'm going to shove right up your ass. Yeah. That's the part that rubs me wrong about this whole aftermath whenever we have one of these shootings. Now, as to the shooting itself, I will paraphrase what I posted on Facebook, which was, I don't care. Oh, Dave, that's so heartless that you don't care. I don't care. Every single one of those people in that theater, except children, anybody under the age of, we'll call it 21, okay? Although that doesn't necessarily fit the definition of children, that's where we'll go. Under 21. If they're under 21, my heart goes out to them. Okay? Really does, truly. And I'm not posturing for the sake of making a point here. My heartfelt feeling is, if somebody is not allowed to be carrying a gun, again, please don't write me and say, well, they can carry a gun at 18 with permission of their parents. I'm making a statement about buying a gun. Okay? Just going out into a store and buying a handgun. All right. If they can't do that, and they get gunned down, I feel terrible for them. The government, once again, is killing Americans by its actions. So it's no different than them saying that the soldiers at Fort Hood can't go around armed. So Hassan had the ability to gun down a bunch of American soldiers because no one could gun him down. It's the same thing. You tell a guy who's 20 years old in 7 months that he can't defend himself, he can't have a handgun with him to defend himself. It's no different than telling the soldiers at Fort Hood, fuck you, die. We say die. When somebody attacks you, just fucking die. Because that's how much we value you. We in government, that's how much we value you American soldiers. But if they're over 21, I don't give a rat's ass. How many of these shootings have occurred? I mean, I don't know. And I doubt any of you listening know, because we don't hear about all of them. We hear about the dramatic ones. Okay? But if a guy goes into the workplace and shoots 4 people, and it happened on the Northeast, people in the Southwest may not hear about it if there's a bunch of other news going on at the time. Okay? Because the news agencies are for-profit businesses. They're going to talk about whatever excites people, whatever angers people, whatever hooks people up emotionally and causes them to watch or listen or read or whatever the venue is, and see their advertising, and advertisers pay the news agencies more money to advertise. That's the equation. There's no morality in news. Let's be clear about that. Okay? It's a profit-driven enterprise. So whatever story is going to make them the most profit is the story they focus on. So if there's some huge story about the rebels in Libya and the chemical warfare thing, and 4 people get shot up in the Northeast, well, that's a regional story. That's not a national story, because there's other shit that will cause people to watch the news more than 4 people getting shot in the Northeast. So the point is, we don't know how often this happens. But you know what we know? We know it happens a lot. There's 315 million people in this country. Shit happens. 315 million. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. Really? I am. But we've got the ones highly publicized, right? Columbine, Virginia Tech, the Utah shopping mall, and so forth. Okay? It's just in the last several years. So you would have to be blind and deaf and have no access to media, nobody to bring you the news or anything, not to know that these things happen. And I think it's pretty clear to anybody with a brain that they happen where guns are not allowed. Where do mass shootings not occur? At the shooting range and at a police station. Hello? Hello, knock, knock, knock. Wake the fuck up. It's pretty damn clear. All right. So if they know these things happen and they don't, it's happened again and 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 again, and I could go on and on and on. And they don't do anything to defend their own lives, fuck them. Now, somebody I saw wrote and said these people deserve it. I disagree with that. They do not deserve it. But we get a lot of things in life we don't deserve. If there's something that you can, with a reasonable amount of expense and effort, not a lot, a reasonable amount, expense and effort, buy a gun, learn how to use it. You can carry it with you, and you stand a chance of surviving these things, and you say, I'm not going to do that. Hey, okay, carry on, but I don't want to fucking hear it when you get shot, or your wife gets shot, or your kids get shot. Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear it. You had an option. You decided not to pursue it. Fuck you. That's it. Remember, I don't know how old you are if you're listening to this show, but back when I was a kid, we had these nuclear bomb drills where we got under the desk. Today it seems silly. But yeah, everybody had to climb under their desks and stay there in case a nuclear bomb went off. We were going through a drill, an exercise, what we would do if a nuclear bomb went off somewhere else. I mean, obviously not in the immediate blast range, because crawling under your desk is not going to stop you from getting eviscerated. But nevertheless, we prepared, right? From the earliest age. I mean, I was doing that in elementary school. We prepared for bad shit. It never happened. Great. What did it hurt us to climb under the desk a bunch of times? Didn't hurt us at all. We were prepared. Kind of. The point being, if there's a quick and easy step in owning a gun, in learning how to use it, and carrying it with you, in my opinion, in comparison to dying, is quick and easy. You don't take it, I got nothing to say to you. You're an idiot. Die. Somebody shoots you? All right. Your problem, not mine. Can't see it from my house. What gets me is that people don't get that logic. That people think it's somehow terrible that I say that. That just utterly amazing. So the other night, was it just last night? God, how time flies. Yes, last night. I go into Las Vegas. I live in Pahrump, this small town about an hour away from Vegas. I go into Vegas to see Dark Knight. Right? This is the movie where the shooting occurred in Aurora, of course. So I go to see Dark Knight. It's no different than any other day for me. I'm packing. Except when I go into Vegas, typically I conceal, because a lot of the activities in Vegas, whether you're stopping to get something to eat or going to a movie, whatever, they're in casinos. And casinos don't like exposed weapons, so I carry conceal. So I go to the theater, and they're checking purses. Now, fortunately, they didn't check Jen's purse. They weren't doing that at the time we walked in. I understand they were doing that a little bit later after we walked in, because we went to an earlier show, like the very first show of the evening. The later shows, they were checking purses. Now, which makes sense, because, of course, all the mass killers, they smuggle in whatever they want in women's purses, right? Yeah. Talk about uselessness. These are sworn peace officers, Las Vegas Metro police officers, walking up and down the lines asking women to open their purses and look so the cops can look in the purse. Now, I'll tell you how effective this is. Last year, Jen went to her 17-year-old son's graduation from high school. And she didn't carry exposed, obviously. So she's got her gun in the purse. Well, the purse she has is specifically made for a gun, so it's got a special gun pocket. So she walks up to the door to go into the venue for this graduation, and the security person says, "Ma'am, I'm going to need to look inside your purse." So Jen grabs the two opposing sides of the purse, yanks it wide open, looks in. "All right, go ahead." The fact that there was a gun in the special gun pouch never even came up. Okay? So there she is in the venue with her gun, despite the security and checking the purses. Well, it's the same thing with Metro. They're not asking to go through every single zipper pocket in the purse. They're just saying, "Open your purse." They open their purse. They look in. "Okay, thank you." It's a complete farce. A complete farce. Now, and at the same time, I come out, and here's these, from the movie, and here's these two Metro cops standing in the lobby, and they are laughing and joking. They're standing about 12 inches apart from one another, completely in condition white. Completely in condition white. If I had just arrived at the theater, and I was a psychopath, and I was there to kill a bunch of people, the very first thing I would have done would have been just walk up, press, head. That's it. Walk up behind one, put the muzzle right, not contact, but close to the head, press, point at the other one, press. The whole thing would have been over in half a second. Press. That's not even a second. That's half a second. The whole thing would have been over. 2 dead cops. Then I would have had my way with everybody else there. It's a complete farce. It just blows my mind that people even... Do people think they walk in and see 2 cops and go, "Oh, I'm safe now from the psychotic killer"? Do they really say that? Because I'm disgusted by the whole thing. All right, now, sort of in a tangential article, somebody sent me a link to an article. This probably goes back about a month ago, where some dipshit wrote an article. He's somebody in the gun community. I don't know his name. It's nobody to me. Saying, "I can't support open carry." Really? And I read the entire article, sadly. I took my valuable time to read the entire article. Completely amazing. And what it really boiled down to is he acknowledges the political attribute of it and blah, 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 which we've talked about on the show before. But what it really came down to is he cited a single case, a single incident, where some student, I don't remember where it was, I think it was someplace in the Midwest, a university student was walking along in the community adjacent to the university, and somebody else, some street thug apparently, ran up, knocked him to the ground, and tried to take the gun out of his holster. Well, we've talked also about retention here, and apparently the guy's holster had a mechanical retention device, and dipshit didn't know how to operate it and couldn't get the gun out, and a bunch of other bystanders came over and attempted to rescue the gun owner, and the thug ran away. All right, now, this is the first incident I have ever heard that happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Okay? I think the guy's an idiot. I'm not calling him a liar. I have never heard of another incident like that, and I'm soon to be 53 years old. And I've been in the firearms community since I was basically around 14. So we'll just call that 40 years. Round it off to 40 years. I've never heard such a thing. So this guy can't, what do you say, I can't support open carry? Because of one incident. Plus, he also feeds right into the gun control people. Because the gun control people, whenever a criminal does something with a gun, they say the gun has to be taken away. So here this guy is walking along, obeying the law, minding his own business. A criminal commits a criminal act that I can't support open carry. Why not just be an anti-gun guy? A criminal did something, so now you can't support open carry? Or we can even go further. A criminal did something one time, so now you can't support open carry? It's amazing. Jen weighs 115 pounds. She open carries every day. Every day. Every day. With a retention holster. No problems. So we're going to take one incident in the entire country. Remember that 315 million people? One incident in 40 years. Oh, I can't support open carry. Well, first of all, who gives a fuck what you support or don't support? Who are you? Nobody. It was no name I've ever heard of. Okay. I'm a huge supporter of open carry, and the more I see of these Aurora kind of things, the more I support open carry. What good does it do if the asshole walks into a room? Let's say it's I want to use a contrivance here where the guy can see. So let's say it's some sort of a award ceremony in a banquet room. What good does it do as a deterrent if the guy walks in the room and they'll say there's 200 people sitting there and he can't see a single gun in evidence? That's going to dissuade him how? Because these guys don't start shooting when they know they're going to get shot back immediately. Okay. Now, if he walks in the room, there's 200 people there, and he sees 43 guns immediately, shit. Wrong room, gotta go. Sorry to disturb you, bye-bye. My personal belief is that open carry is the deterrent. Concealed carry is not a deterrent. Nobody walks into a room, no person who's mentally not right walks into a room where he can't see a single gun and supposes that people have guns there. Doesn't happen. What did we talk about a little while ago? How come these shootings never occur at gun ranges or police stations? Because the guns are in evidence. They're visible. Hello? This isn't hard to connect the dots. It amazes me that people can't do it. All right, switching to another subject. I don't watch TV. I've told you that before. But I'm sitting in a restaurant the other morning, and it's got this, this horrid morning television. I mean, look, if somebody ever wanted to, under NDAA or any of that, take me into custody and torture me, you don't need to waterboard me. Just duct tape me to a chair and duct tape my eyes open too, and force me to watch morning talk shows like that Oprah kind of shit. Good Morning America, that kind of stuff. Oh, my God. The banality would kill me in a day. Get the information out of me quick because I'll be dead in a day. I mean, it's the absolute rock bottom of human conduct. I mean, other than being evil. I mean, it's just... It's brutal. For me, I can't take it. How people sit at home and watch that during the day is... I'll just leave it there because I don't want to insult anybody further than I probably already have. But anyway, so the news comes on. I'm sitting in the restaurant. I can't avoid it. There's the freaking TV right there. The news comes on, and they're covering news stories. And they've got Leon, the ugly troll Panetta, on there. And he's talking about Syria. And he says, the situation is spinning out of control. And I thought, wow, that is a really cool soundbite. The situation is spinning out of control. Oh, I'm sorry. I think it was everyone agrees. I think that was the preface phrase. Excuse me. Everyone agrees that it's spinning out of control. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Out of whose control? What does Panetta mean? Spinning out of control. Out of whose control? Out of control of... I don't know. I'm going to throw out some names. I'm not saying any of these are valid. Out of the control of the CIA? Out of the control of the United Nations generally? Out of control of the Syrian government? Out of control of Assad, which is pretty much like saying the Syrian government? Out of control of the UN? I mean, out of control of what? It was a brilliant soundbite. Because everybody knows that spinning out of control is bad. But there was absolutely no explanation of how that could be anchored to the circumstances. Spinning out of control. Okay, what does that mean? There's violence taking place in Syria. Well, yeah, we know that. And some days this side is winning. Yeah. And on other days that side's winning. Yeah. And certain international forces are supporting Assad. Mm-hmm. And certain other international sources are supporting the rebels. Yeah. Okay. By the way, there are no innocent people here. Let me be clear about this. Okay. Assad is a fucking asshole. The rebels They want to take power. They want to be the next Assad. Know what's going on in Egypt now? The military is in charge. They want to alter the constitution so that even when the Muslim Brotherhood takes over, the military still has significant power over the civil government. There are no good guys in that part of the world. Hell, there may be no good guys anywhere, but there are certainly no good guys in that part of the world. It kills me because then you get these American people, oh yeah, Assad needs to go. He's an evil bastard. We need to back the rebels. The rebels are the same fucking evil bastards. They just want to be in charge instead of that evil bastard. That's all. Instead of Assad, it's Hamoud. That's it. There's no difference. Arab Spring my ass. All we're doing is springing to the next group of thugs. Now, there is a difference, though. With these changes, these nations are becoming more anchored in the central banking system. Ha ha! Yes. If they are resisting participating in loans from the International Monetary Fund, if they're resisting having stronger ties to creating an international bank, they got to go. Which these people are. Okay? They want to chart their own course. They may be assholes, but they're independent assholes. We are embarking, whether we like it or not, quietly, slowly, without a lot of fanfare, into the New World Order. It just is. Most of these people, say, the New World Order. They don't even know what the hell that means. Okay? And that's okay. Because people who are like, whoa, we're going into the New World Order! They're not really credible anyway. But the point is, we are. And if you ask me, Dave, define to the nth degree what the New World Order really is. I don't know. How do I know? It's being engineered by people, and I think I know some of the big strokes. But who's ultimately going to take control? Well, I don't know. Is there an ultimate evil bastard behind this? I don't know. If you're a Christian, you'd say yeah, right? The Antichrist. If one is not Christian, then the answer would be, I don't know. And even a Christian should say, I don't know, because there's no saying that we're in a particular... There's no saying that where we are today in the curve of history, this chart of history going off into the next several thousand years, there's no saying that this is the time when the Antichrist is going to come, if one believes in that. So even the Christians should say, I don't know who's going to be in charge when this New World Order comes to pass. But I would say most Christians would say it's the Antichrist. People who are not Christian, either they're other religions or atheist or agnostic. I don't know. I don't know who's going to be in charge when all this is done. I don't know either. Okay? I know the big themes, but I don't know the ultimate fine contours. Nobody does. I know it's not good for liberty. I know I oppose it. I know if I could identify a single evil bastard, I would do my best to try and take him out. But I don't know who that is. Probably if you could point me to a cabal of 20 or 25 evil bastards, I would do my best to take them out. I'm not sure anybody can really do that. People can point to people that they don't like and that they've read a bunch of stuff and say, I bet he's one of them. Yeah, well, carry on. Unless you can prove it. We're not just going to start killing people based on because you think so. Not that I'm opposed to killing at all. But we don't kill people because somebody else says, well, I'm pretty sure it's him. Yep, I've read a bunch of shit on him. He sounds like a dirty bastard. Let's kill him. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay. But I love that spinning out of control thing. I thought it was the epitome of the perfect soundbite because you cannot really address it. Spinning out of control. Nobody can even tell you what that means. All right. Obamacare. Yes, I know. I've been getting... My mailbox is full of requests to talk about this. What is there to say? Either as a tax or as exercise of the government's authority over commerce among the states, commonly known as the interstate commerce power, either way, as a tax or the other, it's unconstitutional. Okay? Now, we can put the Commerce Clause out of view because that was, in the decision, specifically said the government couldn't do that under the Commerce Clause. So, that's dead. Okay? But under the power to tax. Okay? I saw a great little visual thing on the internet. And I forget the exact verbiage, but it said something like, words never said by the Founding Fathers. And then there was like a quote after it. It was, we can tax you for not doing something we want you to do. Right? I mean, to see something silly like that on the internet, somebody could, guffaw at that. Come on, Dave, really, you're going to use that? But the core message is reality. The federal government's taxing authority is very limited anyway. If you've read Income Tax Shattering the Myths, you know that. Even the government's own documentation says so, and if you know Income Tax Shattering the Myths, you know that. Now, what they try and do, what they say, how they lie, how they get federal judges to lie, that's different than what they say in their own documents. Okay, they just don't allow their own documents into court. It's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors, and the judge buys it, and the jury buys it, and people go to jail. But in their own documents, if you actually could get the documents into the court, which you can't do with corrupt federal judges, if you could actually get them in, the jury would go, well, I don't see anything here that really would result in this guy going to jail. This is silly. Why are we here? So the federal government has very limited taxing authority. Now, in the area where it has authority, as the Supreme Court has said, its power to tax is plenary. In other words, it's total. So where they have the authority to tax, you cannot in any way stop them from exercising that power in a plenary fashion. But they have to have the power. Now, there are two kinds of taxes, direct taxes and indirect taxes. I'm not going to go through a tax lesson, but I think this is essential to making the point of the story. A direct tax is a tax upon, essentially, the exercise of a right. Okay? It's like a poll tax, or, I'm sorry, you're breathing, give me money. That's a direct tax. An indirect tax is a tax that is avoidable, that you can just simply not engage in the activity, and then you don't have to pay the tax. Okay? That would be akin to, if you don't want to pay alcohol tax, don't buy alcohol. If you don't want to pay fuel tax, don't buy fuel. Now, some of these get to be ridiculous when, the average American cannot exist without doing those things. I grant you that. But we're talking conceptually here. And usually when the tax is imposed, it's not like a universal need. It just becomes that with time. So we're talking conceptually. If you don't want to pay tax on gambling winnings, don't gamble. Okay, these are all examples of indirect taxes. Now, NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, has codified the taxing provisions of Obamacare into the excise tax chapters of the tax code. An excise tax is a tax within the indirect category. Now, legally, you go into a courtroom where NARA classified it is not persuasive or compelling in a courtroom. However, for the rest of us in the real world outside a courtroom, it's pretty compelling. Okay. NARA wouldn't have put it in the excise tax category unless somebody over there, and they have tons of attorneys working on this shit, felt it was an indirect tax. That means it is voidable. Okay? If you simply don't engage in the activity, you won't be taxed. But Obamacare is exactly the opposite. It's not if you don't engage in the activity you can avoid the tax. It's if you don't engage in the activity you will be taxed. It turns the entire concept of an indirect tax on its head. Since, I was going to say the history of this country, but that's not even accurate. From the time that the distinction of direct and indirect taxes was drawn, which was, I'm going to get myself in trouble here, a couple hundred years before the formation of this country, maybe 100 years before this formation, so we'll call it 300 years, just round it off. For the last 300 years, the definition of an indirect tax is, if you don't want to pay the tax, don't engage in the activity. Now we get to 300 years and a day, and it becomes, if you don't engage in the activity, you have to pay the tax. How does that work? Completely unconstitutional, because the understanding of an indirect tax is clear. And it is, if you don't want to pay the tax, don't engage in the activity. It has never been, don't engage in the activity, so pay the tax. For 300 years, that has not been the understanding of an indirect tax. The only other way to classify it is to say that it's a direct tax. And that brings up some other constitutional issues and questions. And nobody has contended. The Supreme Court has not contended. The Solicitor General has not contended. The Treasury Department has not contended. The White House has not contended. Sphincter Pelosi has not contended. None of these people have contended that it's a direct tax. So I think to argue that it's a direct tax would be probably legally accurate, but I don't see any reason to go there. I think what you do is you say every indicator given by the people who support it, the people who sponsored the bill, the people who were the cheerleaders for the bill, everybody along the way has said that if it's any form of tax, it's an indirect tax, and as an indirect tax, it fails constitutionally. It doesn't meet the definition of indirect tax. So it's either got to be struck down or declared a direct tax. If you want to declare it a direct tax, good, we'll attack it on that basis. Now, the theory that John Roberts is some sort of hero, I've read some articles that people wrote that said, John Roberts made sure that Obamacare was foreclosed in the area of the Commerce Clause. In other words, the government cannot impose nationalized health care through the Commerce Clause. Okay. And people are like, he's so brilliant to have done that. Oh, help me out here, because I may be missing something. John Roberts is a hero because he foreclosed the argument that Obamacare can be established under the Commerce Clause. He is a freaking hero. And in the same breath, he decided that Obamacare can be imposed under the taxing power provision of the Constitution, so Obamacare gets to move forward. Yes, he's my hero. What is that? Where does that bullshit come from? You know what that is? I hate to be crass. Here we go. Okay. You cannot commit rape anally. If you do, you're a really bad person. But vaginal rape, hey, no problem there. I mean, that's how insane it is when they say, he's so awesome because he foreclosed the opportunity of Obamacare under the Commerce Clause. And he's great and wonderful because now Obamacare is moving forward under the taxing provisions. Anal rape, vaginal rape. It's rape. Obamacare under Commerce Clause, unconstitutional. If you actually care about the Constitution and know anything about it, it's unconstitutional. Obamacare under the taxing provisions, unconstitutional. If you know anything about the taxing powers, you know anything about the Constitution, and you care about them, it's unconstitutional there too. But these idiots who want to hold John Roberts up as some sort of wonderful guy, they're like, well, he foreclosed the opportunity for this unconstitutional thing to be done, but he supported this unconstitutional thing being done. He's our hero. You lost me on this. Absolutely lost me. So you see, while everybody's waiting to hear what I had to say on Obamacare, I don't have a lot to say about it. It's so crystal clear, there's not a lot to talk about. It is what it is. I could talk about the states being able, that the ruling actually held that the states could withdraw and not have their existing funding pulled and all. But isn't that the big scope of what Obamacare is trying to accomplish? Isn't that really not the issue? I mean, it's important, don't get me wrong. But the macro issue is, can the government force you to do shit, and if you don't do it, penalize you by taxing you? I don't care what they call it, a penalty, a tax. If it's collected by the IRS, I don't care what the hell they call it, it's a tax. Okay? So there's not a lot to talk about with Obamacare. That's it. We're in trouble. We're in trouble because the United States Supreme Court has said that it is constitutional to do it under the taxing provision. When it's not. Anybody who's read my book would know that. Anybody with a brain would know that. Anybody who's looked at these issues would know that. But of course, those three things read the book, looked into such matters, knowledgeable, have a brain. That doesn't describe 97% of the population of the United States. You know, I saw a great cartoon, a little, like a political statement. And it said, it referenced that quote, and I know I'm going to get the quote wrong, but something to the effect of those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it. And it had some guy look like an older gentleman who was repeating that, looking at a young guy, and he said, but those of us who do read and understand history are doomed to sit by while it repeats itself at the hands of everybody who doesn't read history. Right? Isn't that exactly what we're experiencing right now? Those of us who read history, those of us who understand, it's not changing anything. Because we read it, we know what's happening, we know what the truth is, we know where we're headed, we know the horrible road we're going down, we know all of these things. And we're like 1% of the population. And the other 99% is just hurtling along, as ignorant as the day is long, taking this nation into oblivion. And what are we going to do? We could start shooting. But you know what the bottom line is? That there's like 1% of us. Let's say there's 3%. You know that famous 3%ers? Let's say there's 3% of us. You know, it might have been fine when we were fighting some force that was located on the other side of the planet. And it was fine when we could take the Tories and send them home. We can't do that now. 3% of us isn't enough. Can't start shooting because it's not going to change anything. 97% don't agree with us because they're too fucking stupid. And they're going to want to fight back if we start getting violent. Now, I'm not opposed to being violent to set this nation right. But there's no sense in being violent when... I mean, I have no, don't get me wrong. I have no problem being violent. None. But there's no purpose in violence if it achieves nothing. It's ugly enough when it does achieve something. It's beyond that when it achieves nothing. What is the equation? I don't know. All right, last subject of the day. Government ID to vote. I cannot believe how many people on the right support this. But Dave, we've got to stop all this voter fraud. People like Obama and all these illegal aliens coming up from over the border and all these dead people and dogs voting and shit. We got to stop this. Yeah, so just feed right into a fucking national ID card, moron. Unbelievable. I don't get why people cannot see where these things are taking us. If you have to show ID at every polling place in America to vote, government ID, and especially if it's going to be like a federal law that to vote for president, you have to show government ID. Because remember, the presidential elections, if any federal official, a senator, congressman, that comes under federal authority. So the federal government comes in and says you have to have ID. The next thing the federal government does is set the standard for that ID. And then, of course, the states adopt that so that their driver's license can be suitable for you to vote. And pretty soon, the only damn difference is in your national ID card that you have a national ID card that says Mississippi. The guy over there on the other side of the border, he has one that says Arkansas. And over here, I have one that says Nevada. But it's a fucking national ID card. And you're propagating it. You say you don't want a national ID card, but you're propagating it. Now, I had this discussion with somebody. And, of course, I got that, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree, because he had no answers. There are times, I think, when it's okay to agree to disagree, but that's something subjective. And this is not subjective. It is what it is. And I'm right. Sorry, don't mean to be like that, but I am, and it's going to happen, and you're going to watch it happen because there's so many motherfuckers who want it to happen. Remember we talked about the 97% that don't have a brain? Well, some of those include people on the right. Actually, a lot of them, sadly. So I said to somebody, no. Instead of creating a de facto national ID card by requiring everybody to have ID to vote, government ID to vote. By the way, I have I don't necessarily have a problem with somebody providing some evidence of who they are to vote. Okay? Show me a utility bill for the area in which you're going to vote. Show me your company ID card. I don't mind something like that, where you're asked to show some evidence of who you are, or sign an affidavit. This is who I really am. Okay, I don't have anything with me. Let me sign this affidavit. And I wouldn't even mind a thumbprint, right? Okay. If there's a problem, we go back, we track you down, we kill you. No, I'm just kidding. But here's the answer. The answer is, if you commit voter fraud, pick a number. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I don't care. At hard labor with no chance for parole. If you are convicted of voter fraud, doesn't mean you went in and cast a vote that wasn't yours. You conspired to do it. You submitted a false document so the dog could vote. I don't care what it is. If you are convicted of engaging in vote fraud, pick a number. We'll just use 15 years. We'll use 15 years as an example. That's sort of halfway between 10 and 20. Right? 15 years at hard labor, making big boulders into little pieces of gravel. 15 years at hard labor with no chance of parole. How many people do you imagine would engage in voter fraud? Now, the answer that I got from him was, well, the government isn't enforcing the laws that are there. Oh, well, great. Let's do the voter ID law, because how's that going to be enforced? The point is, you want laws to severely punish things that affect the society in total. Okay? If you get a senator elected based on voter fraud, in a place like California, you're affecting, I'm just using this as an example, you're affecting somewhere in the range of like 13 million people adversely. So if you think like I think, which is, okay, if you contributed in trying to fuck 13 million people, 15 years at hard labor, you're lucky that's all you're getting. But then we come back to the argument, well, the government isn't enforcing the laws we have. Okay, so why are we passing the voter ID law? So isn't that amazing? The government isn't enforcing the laws we have on the books now. That's the damn problem. But somehow they imagine that the government's going to enforce the ID part. So if somebody votes without ID, what's going to happen? Well, nothing. Because the government isn't enforcing the laws we got now. So the problem isn't fix what's broken. Never is in this country. The problem is a new law! Make another law! Hell yeah! More laws, better laws! We just need more laws. We could fix all this shit if we had more laws. Well, the government isn't enforcing the laws we have now, but it's going to enforce a new law I want. Yeah. If it's a law I want to see passed, yeah, then the government will enforce that one. What sort of asinine thought process is that? And people don't get it. And they become outraged when you say this stuff to them. When you say, look, this is going to be the natural outcome of this. It's not going to solve anything because it's just another law that you yourself have said isn't going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Isn't going to be viable. It's not going to be enforced. Okay? You yourself said the existing laws are not being enforced, so you want to pass another law that will not be enforced. But the outcome is it's going to go ahead and lead to a de facto national ID card, which the very people that are calling for the ID, they hate the idea of a national ID card. Total insanity in our country. My friends, God bless you. A pleasure to be here with you. Look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
The Dave Champion Show, sponsored by Original Intent, produced by Patrick Lindstrom. To comment on today's show, email comments at DaveChampionShow.com or visit the Dave Champion Show website at www.DaveChampionshow.com.